So apparently this is the oldest porcelain maker in Limoges. And we're going to get a tour.
One of the most special things about Limoges is, of course, its history on the world stage of fine porcelain production. We were so lucky to have our friend Nadine arrange a tour with the museum for de Cassau director Thomas Ira. The tour was mostly in French, but Monsieur Ira speaks perfect English, and he was kind enough to help us with many details.
So each of these little fires were on the outside, coal fed, and they would circulate the heat around the outside and it would go up the inside, and the inside would be about 900 degrees Celsius and the bottom would be about 1400 degrees Celsius, if I'm understanding correctly. But super interesting. It had like a doubling effect or tripling effect.
Each of these enormous kilns was 20 meters tall. They have two sections which allowed for two simultaneous firings at different temperatures for each level. That way, up to 15,000 pieces could fire at once. The top part was not as hot, and that meant that the newer pieces could be first fired up there, and the lower part would be at hotter temperatures, so the final firings could take place at the bottom. These kilns took 2 days just to load. Living so close to Limoges, I think that you have a sense of knowing that the area is famous for porcelain, but when you get into the history of it, you understand how that perfect alignment came to be a historical production place for it. Limoges sits on the River Vienne, and it sits in an area where the forestry is plentiful. And so the Vienne River could bring that wood down into the city, which provided fuel for the kilns to produce porcelain. And kaolin, the white brittle clay that's needed to make porcelain, can be sourced nearby. It's one of the few places in the whole world where you can get it. And so together, those availabilities and the facility were brought together to produce some of the most beautiful porcelain in the whole world. And you can see at this museum how all of those things came together, and you can walk where all of these things were produced throughout history since the 1700s. It's an amazing walk through history.
So it would take 2 days to heat up, 2 days to load, 3 days to heat up, and then 2 weeks to cool down. And they looked through these little windows, and red was 900, yellow was 1200, and white was 1400. And that's how they determine the temperature. And of course, these are the molds for making like a teapot. Yes. There are pictures of the molds being worked and the artisans. Super interesting. A lot of the tools. The other interesting thing here is the size of these, how they get smaller as the water content decreases. And of course, these are the little charms you get in the king's cake. The Gâteau Roy for the Epiphany, which is like 1 week after New Year's, January 6th. These, of course, are much nicer than the ones we've ever seen or gotten in a cake. Very fun. These are the gauges. I'm not exactly sure what they're called here in France, but measure the quality of clay and the temperature. We still use these today in clay firing. Super interesting. And this here is the top of the kiln that we were just downstairs with. And of course, this is the lower temperature area, which was still 900 degrees Celsius in this chamber. And we were just down there. So this kiln has been preserved. And I can only imagine there was one right here as well. You can tell many of the boards are really old and some of them have been replaced. And the ceiling is very similar, although it's been refurbished too. But it looks like it's a mirror, essentially, of this side. It's a really big kiln. Yeah, so this is interesting. It's more than just porcelain cups and teapots, light switches,
Look at this big
insulators for electricity.
This giant one.
Oh, look at this big giant one.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, for like high voltage wires. Super interesting.
She said that children from the age of 10.
So we got the story behind this vase. Essentially, it was in the Orsay, but then it broke, and they restored it.
On arrive au sommet des arts quand on voit le niveau de la sculpture et de la peinture. Comme les peintres impressionnistes, on veut prendre le contre-pied de tout ça. Et c'est à ce moment-là qu'Avion ouvre cet atelier de la rue Blomet, quartier Vaugirard, qui est confié à Ernest Chaplet, qu'on voit dans la photo dans un cadre là-bas.
So these little beams right here were constructed at about the same time the Eiffel Tower is, and so you can kind of see the similarities to the Eiffel Tower in the type of construction with the rivets and the I-beams and how they're connected. So apparently this is a private collection.
It's not part of the.
It's not part of the whole thing.
This is artisanal.
It's artisanal. And of course this is incredible.
The very last part of the tour is through the gift shop, where you can grab a tote bag or a great book about the history of porcelain. And then you exit through the factory store. And the factory store is just full of some of the iconic Royal Limoges patterns. And we just took a video of just some of the great patterns that they have, and their selection of the white porcelain is really fun. So we hope you enjoy seeing some of the selections, and we wish we had zoomed in more on the price lists so that you can see those, and we hope to return so that we can share those with you again soon. So enjoy, and we hope that you are as crazy for porcelain as we feel now.
So it doesn't even look real. They're little kilns. Kind of fun. Little artichokes. Beautiful bowls. Pichet. This is interesting. Hey, lady. Very pretty.
Thank you for sharing another adventure from France with us. We are back in California and we have a couple more things that we want to share with you. We are collecting questions in the comments, so if there's anything you want to know about being an American and having a holiday home in France, please drop those into the comments below. And we're happy to share those with you. We are looking forward to heading back to France really soon, and we can't wait to hear more from you and to share with you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon.